Good evening, and you have reached Chayah Chayil, and I am your host, Shelly Janity Brown, and we are going through a summer scripture session from the 25th of July up until I think it is the middle part of August. And so we have a total of 5 sessions we're going to bring you. And tonight we are bringing session 2. Last week I brought in the session called Butterflies in the Garden. I hope you all enjoyed that. I look forward to some feedback or somebody tell me what they thought. I did get one, so I'm looking for some more. But tonight we're going to talk about, in session 2, on Zipporah, the line of defense. I'm sharing a situation with Zipporah, who is the wife of Moshe, and how she had to be on the defensive line for her husband. We will look at how many of us have to be on the same defensive line for your own husbands, for your children, for your family, sometimes for friends. It's very important. So I'm thank you for joining me on this session, and I hope you have your baskets and you're ready to glean from this field. We're going to be coming from the scripture Exodus 4th chapter, 24th to the 25th verse. And we're going to jump back to give you a little bit of history and an additional explanation on my covenant and about circumcision. And we're going to Genesis on the 17th chapter, the 9th to the 14th verse. And one thing I want you to remember is one particular word is defense. The word defense. And there's 2 meanings to this word, but for this particular episode, I want you to concentrate on this definition. And this is defense, the action of defending from or resisting attack, protection, guarding, security, fortification, more resistance, and a deterrent. So we're going to look at all of this tonight and understand more about this courageous woman that went and was the line of defense for her husband. So I take it that you are really ready, that you have everything that you need. You have your baskets. The field is plentiful. And see, you have your scripture and you got your paper and you got your pens. You got all of that to take notes. You ready? Let's begin. Good evening and welcome to Chayah Chayil. This is the summer session scripture study that we're having for the Women's Ministry of Chayah Ministries Global. And tonight's episode, we are in session 2. And it's a total of 5, I do believe, is what I'm having that's going up into August. So this is session 2, and the title is Zipporah, the line of defense. And we're coming from scripture for Exodus 4th chapter, 24th and 25th verse. And we're also going to jump back a little bit to Genesis 17th chapter, 9 to 14. And that is about the covenant, his covenant, and about the circumcision. So you'll understand this more as I get into this. So I'm sharing a situation with Zipporah, who is the wife of Moshe, and how she had to be on the defensive line for her husband. And we will look at how many of us have to be on the defensive lines for your husbands, for your children, for family, and sometimes for friends. So you're joining me for this episode of session 2, which is Zipporah and its defensive line. And I'm going to start off with the prayer. I'm going to jump right into this. I take every spirit in the hearing of my voice under my control. No other spirit except that of the Ruach HaKodesh will be allowed to speak or manifest during this time of ministry. Thou angels which thou hast given me, my troops during this warfare shall cover me and be deployed by me to battle or warfare as directed, as it is your will. They are fully armored in all areas, and so am I, as you have made it so. Those that have an ear to hear what thus saith Yahuwah receive full portions, the messages from heaven's throne room. A hedge of protection shall be upon us during this session, and upon the conclusion of this session or season of ministry, no repercussions, demon attacks, thoughts, words of non-life, chants, spells, tentacles, none of that stuff shall not have no effect upon me, his vassal, unto the people who hear and those who will hear this broadcast later. No weapon formed which has been formed against us shall not prosper. No enemy, mentally, physically, or spiritually, shall get to us during this session. That I shall be restored fully in faith, health, thought, and ready to receive the next bounty unto which shall be distributed upon your people and those seeking you. For we are girded with your faith, belief, your strength, your favor, grace, mercy, love, and your covering. So shall the words that go forth out of my mouth, they shall not return unto me void, but shall accomplish that which pleases Abba, and shall prosper in the things whereto they have been sent. Exodus 4th chapter, 25th to the 24th to the 25th verse. And it came to pass by the way in the inn that Yahuwah met him and sought to kill him, wanted to kill him. Then Zipporah took a sharp stone and cut off the foreskin of her son and cast it at his feet and said, surely a bloody husband are you to me. Now let me take you here first to Genesis 17th chapter 9 to 14. And this is about the covenant of the circumcision. And Yahuwah said to Abraham, and as for you, you shall keep my covenant, you and your offspring, after you throughout their generations. This is my covenant, which you shall keep between me and you and your offspring after you. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and that shall be the sign of the covenant between me and you. At the age of 8 days, every male among you should be circumcised throughout your generations. He that is born in the household or purchased with money from any stranger who is not of your offspring. He that is born in your household or purchased with your money shall surely be circumcised. Thus my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. An uncircumcised male, the flesh of whose foreskin shall not be circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from its people. He has invalidated my covenant. Defense. I want you to remember this word. Defense. There are 2 definitions to this word. However, we're only going to concentrate on this definition as it fits this particular discussion. Defense. The action of defending from or resisting attack. Protection, guarding, security, fortification, more resistance, or deterrent. The action of defending from or resisting attack. Now, let me get back to this about the covenant of circumcision. The blessings of children and possessions of the land depended on circumcision. The symbolic significance of this commandment is indicated by the name of the flesh that is removed in performance of the commandment. Olah, O-R-L-A-H. O-R-L-A-H, commonly translated as foreskin. For more accurately, it is, as it is used in Scripture, it is a barrier standing in the way of a beneficial result. For example, the sinful habits that predispose a person not to change his lifestyle are called the olah of the heart. You refer that to Leviticus 26, chapter 41, verse, Jeremiah 9, chapter 25th, verse, Ezekiel 44, chapter 7, verse. This concept is beyond human understanding. Circumcision is a means to help the Judean ennoble himself and return to the spiritual state of Adam before his sin. Ennoble, E-N-N-O-B-L-E. You have to Google that one if you need a little bit more clarification. Adam was born circumcised, but after his sin, his foreskin was extended and covered the organ as a symbol that he had created a barrier between himself and holiness. Let me go back and do that again. Adam was born circumcised, but after his sin, his foreskin was extended and covered the organ as a symbol that he had created a barrier between himself and holiness. By removing the superfluous skin covering the organ of continuity, circumcision teaches that man must eliminate the natural barriers blocking his advancement. But circumcision's capacity to accomplish this is not a logical outcome of the physical act. To the contrary, it is metaphysical. The aspect of circumcision is symbolized by the commandment that it be done on the 8th day of a boy's life. The natural order of creation involves cycles of 7, such as 7 days of the week and the 7 years of the agricultural cycle. Shemitah, Shemittah, Shemitah. The number 8, on the other hand, represents the concept that one can rise above the limitations of nature. By commanding Yeshriel's ability to remove the barriers to his spiritual ascent transcends the natural order of life. Yahweh gives man the ability to do it. And since he can, he must. This is my covenant. Circumcision is called the covenant, yet in the next verse it is called the sign of the covenant, implying that the actual covenant is something else. A commandment consists of two parts. The physical act and its underlying moral and spiritual teaching, and neither is complete without the other. Just as it is not enough to perform the commanded deeds if they are denuded of an intellectual and moral content. So it is not enough to philosophize on the commandments and seek moral improvement without actually performing the commandment. The physical act is the covenant, but it is also a sign of the covenant's deeper meaning. The sign of the covenant. Circumcision is literally a sign, a mark on the body, stamping its bearer as a servant of Yahuwah. Just as their souls are different than those of other nations, so their bodies must be different. Yahuwah ordained that this sign be placed on the reproductive organ to symbolize that circumcision is essential to Yeshriel's eternity. This verse contains the positive commandment that every father circumcise his son, and that if one's father or the rabbinical court as representatives of the nation or the elders of the nation had not carried out this responsibility, then every man is responsible to have himself circumcised when he becomes bar mitzvah. He that is born in the household, a master is required to circumcise his non-Yisrael slave, whether he was born to the Judean owner from a maidservant or was purchased with money after he was born, shall be cut off. Shall be cut off. An adult who intentionally remains uncircumcised suffers spiritual excisions. Excisions means that the soul loses its share in the world to come. Excision means that the soul loses its share in the world to come, and the violator may die childless prematurely, or can die prematurely. If you confer with Leviticus 7, chapter 20 verse, it talks about the same thing about the soul will be cut off. It's referring to the punishment of Kares, K-A-R-E-S, means sin, spiritual excision. It states that the offender's minor children die and he dies young. However, it is stated that children do not die unless the Torah specifies that punishment. The Talmud Yerushalem states that the early death takes place before the offender becomes 50. Cars, that there are different degrees of this punishment. Sins, that there are different degrees of this punishment, depending on the merits of the sinner and the severity of his sin. If someone is basically righteous, but could not withstand the temptation to commit a sin, he will die young, but will not lose his share in the world to come. If his sins outnumber his merits, his soul will be cut off from the world to come, but he will not necessarily die young. He may even live a long life. In case of idolatry and blasphemy, the Torah prescribes both early death and loss of a share in the world to come. Childlessness, too, applies only where the Torah specifies it, but it is not a part of every sin's punishment. The very mention of sin in the Torah demonstrates that there is eternal reward for the soul. If there was not an unimaginable degree of spiritual bliss awaiting the righteous soul after it leaves the body, there could be no such thing as sin after death. And it came to pass by the way in the inn that Yahuwah met him and wanted to kill him. Then Zipporah took a sharp stone and cut off the foreskin of her son and cast it at his feet and said, "Surely a bloody husband are you to me." Exodus 4, 24-25. Remember I talked about the meaning of defense? Action of defending from or resisting attack, protection, guarding, security, fortification, deterrent. Defensive linemen are the first line of defense. This is played in football. Of course, many of y'all already knew what I was talking about. The defensive line on a football team is made up of the biggest and strongest players on the defense. The defense linemen hold the line as if it's in the trenches where they battle with offensive linemen play by play. It is their job to wreak havoc on the offensive side's blocking and passing schemes. Okay, now you got that? All right. Moshe set out for Egypt with his family, including his newborn son, who had not yet been circumcised. And because he was unconcerned about performing the circumcision in time, an angel was about to kill him. Heaven saw that Moshe did not care about the circumcision. He was faced with a dilemma. Should he perform the circumcision before he went and then take the child with him? But the infant would be in danger for the first 3 days after the incision. Should he perform the circumcision and delay the trip for 3 days? But Yahuwah had commanded him to go. He decided to travel immediately, since Yahuwah knew about the baby when he commanded him to go. Nevertheless, he was held accountable or culpable because when they arrived at an inn, he began making arrangements for his lodging instead of performing the circumcision without delay. Even though he would have had to resume his trip to Egypt after the circumcision, thus putting the infant into new danger and justifying further delay, the inn was close enough to Egypt that the short trip would not endanger the child's health. An angel grabs Moses in such a way as to make Zipporah understand that the danger had been caused by Moshe's failure to circumcise the baby. Seeing that her husband was about to die because of his sin of omission, Zipporah circumcised the child, saving Moshe's life. Although failure to perform a circumcision does not incur the death penalty, the most righteous people, such as Moshe and many people of the fivefold who are ministry leaders, are held to a higher standard of divine accountability. Regardless of what this was and what was done, you knew what the law said. You knew what the covenant was about, that on the 8th day, no matter what time it was, as long as it was done on the 8th day, it needed to be done. And he was in delay. It was also sin. It was also disobedience, because that was a covenant that he had spoke to him directly that had to be done. It had to be his mark on every one of his. So it was no misunderstanding who we belong to, what the males belong to. And touched it to his feet. Zipporah touched the foreskin to Moshe's feet in the hope that the merit of the circumcision, like the blood of the Passover on doorposts on the night of the Exodus, would save Moshe from the angel of death. That was the angel of death that was there. They don't mess around. When it's time to come up and swoop and go, they swoop and go. They don't hesitate. And ain't no, please, let me just do this one last little thing. When they there, they swoop and take. It's done. A bridegroom's bloodshed. She addressed her baby saying that he was the cause of the bloodshed that was about to strike her bridegroom. Her bridegroom was her husband. The bridegroom's blood was because of circumcision. Zipporah thought that Moshe was about to die because he had sinned by delaying the circumcision, a sin that he had already committed. However, now she realized that his threatened death was but a means of prompting her to circumcise the baby immediately. It showed her the importance of the commandment. The importance of the commandment. In most instances, we have come to know that the spiritual offensive line are the demons we fight on an everyday basis. We know they come to wreak havoc, seek, kill, destroy. Every now and then, one of them gets through the tackle and will try to sack the quarterback. That's you. Sometimes the quarterback can maneuver out of the way, and then there are other times that you got clipped, which has caused an injury, or you are out of the game for a season. In this instance, Abba was the one who sent his spiritual offensive team to carry out a textbook play. However, Zipporah was on the defensive. When she saw the angel, now imagine this now, she actually saw him. So the Father made it clear for her to see this, to make her to make a move to do this. See, we get this thing twisted sometimes, that we don't understand that we are the ones that protects our mates as well. It's a two-way street. But that she saw the angel, had a grip on her husband, and was ready to take him out, death. Like I told you, them death angels don't play. When they come in swoop and go. They like fog and wind. They come in, whoop, and hit you so fast and then it's gone. Many times we as wives and mothers must play defensive more than offensive. And I believe I have these definitions correct. If not, just switch the words around. But you get my point. I have trouble with football at times. I'm still learning the game, but it's okay. But you understand my point that you find that the world and people and circumstances will come at your spouse like a freight train. You must be on the defensive so that he shall not get clipped and it shall not clip you as well and injure you or take him, the family, out for the season, especially you. Sometimes you got to watch your own self and be on the defensive. For the team is more after you as well at times because he does not want you to assist to making sure that your spouse, your husband, gets to his divine destiny, that he gets to his assignment because it is your job. We have to be very sensitive to the moves of the Spirit, both the dark side and ours. Remember that your husband is your assignment. Your home, you either build it up or you tear it down. He being your assignment, there is much responsibility there. When he is faced with all these decisions and needs clarity to stay on track or find that road, and they don't like to ask for directions, then you have to be that line of defense. He is your assignment. He is your assignment to make sure when you see something coming in that's going to take him down because of the wrong choices or delaying doing something that needs to be done. You have to be that line of defense, whether it's offensive or defensive. You have to block all the things that keep trying to keep him from making the pass or getting to the goal line, that divine destiny. We're supposed to be the helpmates, but for some reason, we don't really know the job description and what it entails and what we have to do and what we are supposed to do. But Zipporah realized the threat that was coming to her family, coming to her husband, and she immediately carried out what he did not do to save his life, because Abba showed her that angel that was getting ready to take him and had a grip on him. I can only imagine the look on his face, and you couldn't move. And it's like that move, what is it, Darth Vader do when he uses the Force and people can't talk and they choking and all like this. And then, and he always gives that line. He said, your lack of faith is disturbing. You understand when he does that? But you understand what I'm saying. But that's what was happening. But she immediately did not hesitate and found a sharp enough stone and did what she needed to do. And then threw it at his feet as though because it was blood that needed to go, as it did for Exodus before they traveled on the post. So that's why it landed on his feet. And she saved her husband's life. When it comes to Abba, you cannot put things on the back burner, especially when you know the detail of the commandment. Prioritize what needs to be done. Be that line of defense. Make a way for him to get through when you need to. Tackle him. Take him down. Hit him, and hit him hard. Do some damage to the enemy for a change. Clip them for a minute. Knock them out. Knock the wind out of them. Where they got to sit down there on that field for about 15 minutes. And then they have to be dragged off. You do what you got to do. But you take them down. Tackle him again if you got to. Take it down. And then you're done. But block him. Keep him protected. Touchdown. I'm done. Father, Abba, I thank you for such a time as this, for those who have come above. For I have given unto them the words which thou gavest me, and they have received them. And Father, my prayer for them is that they really understand the process of being a person who is on the line of defense, especially the women for their husbands and those who are about to become wives. Understand the importance of knowing what needs to be done and how to, this is a short example, how we have to move quickly when we see something that's coming to threaten the family and coming to threaten your husband. And then even you can reverse this and put this the same way with husbands to wives. It's the same way. But this is mostly speaking about this on Zipporah. I have truly admired her for this. I've always wondered why she did it, what this was always about. And because of the statement that she had made to her husband. And then once I got more fully into it, I felt this would have been a good episode to share with you all. So I hope that you were able to glean from the field for this. And my prayer is that your baskets have overflowed tremendously and that you'll be able to distribute this out to others. Please do share this message with other people as well, so that they'll be able to glean from Heaven's throne room and from this field. This field is bountiful as it is with the other two fields. And to Yahuwah be all the glory. And Yahuwah, he who exists, will kneel before you, presenting gifts, and will guard you with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah, he who exists, will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards you, bringing order, and he will provide you with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah, he who exists, will lift up his wholeness of being and look upon you, and he shall set in place all you need to be whole and complete. So shall they put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. And this comes from Numbers 6, chapter 24 to the 27th verse. Thank you once again, and as I pray that your baskets are very healthy and really are heavy, that you can distribute this out. And I hope you will join me for the next episode in the next session 3, don't have the title yet, of the summer scripture study. Thank you again, and I am your host, Shelly Janet E. Brown of Chayah, Eishet, Chayil, and Shalom, Shalom.